We have reached a point in South Africa today where even sports commentators and DJs who never had a political thought in their lives are now suddenly openly defending the calls to slaughter white people. What is worse, these people are people who used to be adored by South Africans of all races for many years, and yet who are now openly siding with the most hateful and vile calls for a full-scale genocide to be committed in South Africa. The hard reality is that the latest statements by these prominent black figures who once embodied the spirit of unity and national reconciliation show that genocidal rhetoric is now being normalized and became mainstream and openly, of course, promoted in this country, marking the final death of the old Rainbow Nation dream. Take, for example, Robert Marawa. For many years, Marawa has been one of the most recognizable and loved faces and specifically voices in the South African sporting scene. In a country that is known for its love of sport and its exceptional accomplishments on the field of sport, Marawa has long been adored by people from all ethnicities and has generally been cherished by those committed to the ideals of South Africa's nation building. As a unifying figure, as a role model to many young South Africans who was simply living out his passion for sport with apt professionalism and entertaining everyone in the process.
I just knew that I wanted to do sport, but I wanted to follow football. So football was my passion. Football is what I followed on that radio that I spoke about in the book.
You see, figures such as Marawa have always presented themselves in public as apolitical, which helped them massively to be cherished by South Africans and in particular South African sports fans from all backgrounds. Moreover, people of Marawa's generation never experienced any sort of apartheid as adults either, as Marawa himself had not yet finished high school when apartheid was fully abolished. Even during the final years of apartheid, he attended the highly prestigious Hilton College in Pietermaritzburg, a school that has always been far too expensive for well over 90% of white South Africans to attend. Marawa, who came from a privileged and elite background, so much so that he even turned down scholarships to study law in the United Kingdom, used to be one of the symbols of the Rainbow Nation dream.
I just had to apologize to the 1820 Settlers Foundation that had already agreed with me and my dad to go study law in the UK.
And yet today, that has completely changed. And he is now openly spewing hatred against the very white people who had ensured that he got the necessary opportunities for his most illustrious career. And he is by no means alone. In fact, he is but part of the embodiment of this alarming trend. In the 90s, the phrase Rainbow Nation, coined by the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, seemed to be on everyone's lips. And sports were specifically used as an instrument to support this specific ideal of the rainbow multicultural democracy. When the Springboks won the 1995 World Cup and Bafana Bafana won the 1996 African Cup of Nations, these successes on the sporting field greatly contributed to the project of unifying the various races into one multiracial imperial rainbow nation. The idea behind the Rainbow Nation was always that for this nation to succeed, the various tribes must die, and sport was perhaps the most effective instrument in killing nationalism. The idea has always been that if people from various tribes and races and nations can get behind one multicultural sports team, these people would gradually assume a new identity, not with their actual nation, but with this construct of the Rainbow Nation consisting of many actual nations. In this process, figures like Robert Marawa, who positioned themselves as apolitical, used to play a key role.
So there were just a whole manner of issues that were potentially there that nobody had ever asked him about. And he said, well, just be nice to Zelda. His PA said, just be nice to Zelda, and I'll be there. And true to form, he arrived at the Metro FM studios at the SABC.
With the arrival of the 2010 Soccer World Cup, when South Africa hosted the biggest sporting event on the planet, the Rainbow Nation project seems to be on track. Around that time, surveys found that around 70% of South Africans identified as South African, and only 7% identified with their own ethnic group first. The findings at the time indicated that those who committed to the Rainbow Nation had increased from 59% to 70% in the space of just 5 years, while those with ethno-nationalist sentiments had roughly halved from 13 to 7%. At that time, there was a host of prominent apolitical black figures like Marawa who were rising through the ranks and who gave liberals enough reason to be optimistic about the future of this Rainbow Nation project. Think of figures such as Sizwe Dlomu, who first rose to prominence in the mid-2000s after winning a nationwide presenter search for MTV South Africa, which launched him into the spotlight as one of the channel's first flagship hosts. Born in Durban and educated at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, he quickly became known for his polished, cosmopolitan on-screen presence, fronting music and youth culture programs that reached a racially diverse audience at a time when MTV was still popular within South Africa, specifically with the youth. Around 2010, he had established himself as a widely recognized, broadly appealing media figure in post-apartheid multiracial South Africa. This was just around a decade and a half ago. At the time, the Rainbow Nation seemed to be on track, and the majority of people in this country seemed to be somewhat hopeful about the nation-state's future. But now, everything had changed. Apolitical figures like Marawa and Dlomu, who used to be universally well loved and embraced by the sports and music lovers from all backgrounds and all races, have now, quite suddenly, and very openly and very visibly turned to condemning anyone who even dares to speak up against the appeals for white people to be systematically slaughtered. Today, even those figures who once simply seemed to mind their own business and make a good life out of sports or music commentary are now openly turning towards hatred. In a recent tweet, the director of Lex Libertas, Ernst Roots, simply pointed out the obvious on social media, that South Africa has a serious problem regarding genocidal rhetoric, obviously referring to the chants sung by various political figures calling for the Boer to be killed or white people to be slaughtered. And Robert Marawa, of all people, replied him in the most degrading manner, accusing Roots of constantly talking about race-related rubbish, which is in fact a very real concern for basically all Afrikaners except for a few liberals, as well as directly referring to Afrikaners as thieves. Dlomu, who now works as a radio host with Kaya FM, recently even attacked Elon Musk for daring to criticize Julius Malema about the Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer chant. This is coming from a man who was only 8 years old when apartheid was abolished and who only graduated high school during the Mbeki era. What we are witnessing in South Africa today is a hard and alarming shift towards the social acceptance of open calls for genocide by public figures who in the past simply didn't meddle with politics at all, kept their noses clean and kept their noses out of politics, and became well beloved by the entire country. And now, yet, these figures who came from highly privileged backgrounds and most certainly never experienced any form of oppression in their entire lives are openly normalizing genocidal rhetoric among their own audiences, consisting mostly of sports fans and music enthusiasts who never had a racial thought. This shift has profound consequences for the future of the social cohesion in South Africa. When figures who were once seen as neutral or unifying begin to legitimize or even support such rhetoric, It lowers the threshold of what is considered acceptable in public discourse. Of course, these figures even chose to put their apoliticalness aside and go for it to support these calls for genocide, these radical hatred movements within our politics. Ordinary citizens who look up to these personalities, or at least looked up to these personalities, increasingly adopt similar attitudes, accelerating the breakdown of trust between communities that is already at its most evident in this country for all to see. Back in 2010, the percentage of citizens identifying with the Rainbow Nation may have been surging among all races, but all of that progress that liberals were making has been completely and utterly eroded by the fact that so many black South Africans, and especially those with big followings who were once seen as unifying figures beloved by all races, endorse the most vile and genocidal rhetoric from figures such as Julius Malema. In fact, according to the latest Afrobarometer findings, the percentage of South Africans identifying themselves as South African, identifying with the Rainbow Nation ideal, has absolutely plummeted from 70% in 2011 to just 16%. That is 16% today. Faith in the Rainbow Nation ideal has completely and utterly collapsed among all races, and the levels of trust between the different races and different ethnicities in this country have now reached an all-time low, the lowest it had ever been since the construction of South Africa in the early 1900s. The fantasy of a non-racial South Africa, a Rainbow Nation, is one that is now only being promoted by a very small group of wealthy white liberals. You know, the ones who bought their own apartheid by living in majority white areas in large mansions behind high walls. Virtually everyone else, normal people in this country, have moved on from this fantasy. In a recent video, we pointed out how the rise of xenophobia to record levels in South Africa absolutely amplifies how tribal politics is increasingly the dominant factor in this country's political landscape. Check out this full report by clicking on this link appearing on your screen right now. And do support us or invest in us by becoming paying members of the Willem Petzer Group. Only with you guys' help are we able to make videos such as these every single day and pay everyone working for this team salaries. Thank you, goodbye, and God bless.